Dear students, let us begin with the second part of the lesson on India and SAARC, in which we will learn about India and SAARC after the COVID pandemic, China's role, and India and future SAARC. The importance of India as a vaccine supplier in South Asia was well established even before the pandemic. The South Asian countries have always depended on India for vaccine supplies for other diseases such as cholera, typhoid, tuberculosis, rabies, measles, mumps and rubella, polio amongst others. India's exports of vaccines to South Asia have nearly doubled from $16.06 million in 2014 to $34.53 million in 2018. However, the Prime Minister of India had clarified that cooperation over COVID-19 was a standalone activity in the face of a common crisis outside the SAARC calendar of routine activities. SAARC countries had met thereafter to discuss issues of trade exchange in the aftermath of COVID-19 as trading became more difficult due to differing rates of infection and lockdowns in different member countries. Much of the paperwork was being digitalized to avoid spread of infection. The meeting made decisions regarding facilitation of trade through pragmatic solutions such as provisional clearance of imports at preferential duty with suitable conditions, provisional acceptance of digitally signed certificates of imports by customs and release of payments by banks, resolving issues being faced for exports and imports at land customs stations on the land borders. In spite of such positive engagements, the SAARC has been sidelined yet again by Pakistan's political tactics. In the wake of the Afghanistan crisis, the world is in a dilemma regarding whether to acknowledge the Taliban regime or not. The Taliban have come to power in Afghanistan by force with Pakistan's support and cooperation. In the absence of electoral legitimacy, the world has not moved ahead with extending recognition to the new government in Afghanistan. Along these lines, the SAARC had decided to conduct an informal meeting of its foreign ministers on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly meeting scheduled to be held on 25th September 2021. However, the meeting got cancelled when Pakistan expressed that it wanted a representative of the Taliban regime to participate in the meeting. The other countries objected to this and proposed to go without representation from Afghanistan. The scheduled meeting was yet another effort on India's part to get the SAARC regional organization back on track as a working organization. Pakistan's disagreement with India over Afghanistan's representation posed a challenge to forging an agreement within the auspices of the SAARC. All eyes are now on the United Nations as its approach towards the Taliban may have a larger impact on how the international community deals with the Afghanistan's Taliban regime. Let us discuss about China's role. China also emerges as a major economic market for these countries for their exports, especially in the post-COVID world. For some South Asian countries such as the Maldives, China also constitutes the largest source of international tourists in an economy based on tourism for revenue generation. South Asian countries including Nepal, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh have recognized China as a crucial economic partner for their exports. The demand for South Asian goods such as textiles, agricultural products and electronics in the vast Chinese market has provided a significant boost to their economies. This economic synergy is particularly pronounced in the Maldives, where China has not only emerged as a major trading partner but also constitutes the largest source of international tourists. In an economy heavily reliant on tourism for revenue generation, the influx of Chinese tourists has had a profound impact, contributing significantly to the Maldives' economic growth and stability. Furthermore, many South Asian countries are already participating in China's infrastructure connectivity projects and have become deeply intertwined in China's financial transactions. Pakistan is comfortable with such a scenario as long as China helps with low interest loans and nuclear weaponry. Afghanistan also seems comfortable with Chinese penetration in South Asia, as China is ready with available money and other resources to invest into Afghanistan's failing economy. Therefore, India clearly has a tough time deciding what role it can play in the SAARC. Let us discuss about India and future SAARC. SAARC has perennially failed to move ahead in a positive direction owing to several reasons. The most important reason for SAARC's failure has been the persistent India-Pakistan differences. For a long time, India has championed for greater economic cooperation in the bloc to promote greater cohesion, which might lead to region building in the long run. South Asia is the least integrated region in the world. According to the remarks of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the SAARC summit in 2014, I quote, "Less than 10% of the region's internal trade takes place under the SAARC FTA. It is still harder to travel within our region than to Bangkok or Singapore, and more expensive to speak to each other." End quote. Seen in this light, India had long ago extended most favored nation status to Pakistan in 1996. However, the latter had, in violation of World Trade Organization norms, refused to extend the same to India till today. Furthermore, whenever India has extended a hand of peace and friendship to Pakistan to resolve outstanding bilateral disputes, the latter has either demanded the resolution of the status of Jammu and Kashmir prior to solving all other issues, or responded with the threat or act of a terrorist attack. After such experiences, India stopped extending assurances of cooperation and launched counter-offensives in response to attacks coming from Pakistan. These were either in the form of surgical strikes in response to attack on Uri base camp, or the Balakot air strikes in response to Pulwama terror attack. This eye for an eye approach has ensured that SAARC remains in a state of misery. The second reason for the decline of SAARC is the perception of other member countries of India's behavior as a regional hegemon in the SAARC. However, the flaw on India's part is that it has failed to moderate such fears of smaller countries by acting more responsibly. Dynamism in diplomacy is key to exercising effective leadership, but India has often failed to live up to such expectations, fueling allegations of superiority by neighbors. India has not evolved a positive approach to deal with this issue of labor migration from Nepal and Bangladesh. Further, India has not responded to Nepal's request for repatriation of Bhutanese refugees. Mandatory testing requirements on India's imports in areas of food, leather and textiles take up a lot of time for goods to flow across borders. These samples are sent to Lucknow and Chennai for testing, which takes significant time, and India has not attempted to establish testing centers closer to border areas. Perishable commodities suffer great risks of damage due to delays in cross-border trade. India's domestic market remains inherently protectionist in nature. Although it has extended several concessions to SAARC members in terms of trade, such measures often come with conditions attached. There are significant trade deficits between India and SAARC member countries. protectionism, a red tape ridden bureaucracy, lengthy testing procedures, and lack of proper regional connectivity count as major flaws on India's side that hinder the promotion of regional integration. However, SAARC saw a significant development when it was convened in March 2020 to address the issue of COVID. Every member country attended the summit and donated to the COVID response fund created by India, with it being the largest donor. Furthermore, India supplied medical equipment to neighboring countries despite being one of the worst affected countries. This further strengthened its image as a responsible country and the prime stakeholder in South Asia. India has also donated about 1/4 of its total vaccine supply to SAARC countries. I hope you understood about India and SAARC after the COVID pandemic, China's rule, and India and future SAARC. We will discuss about India's shifting policy towards other regional forums in the next video. Thank you.